Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, a.k.a. PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast here on Blab. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter, you all know me as PD Beats. This is the podcast where we have digital dialogues from the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. And we're going professional tonight. We got a professional musician and a professional athlete on the show. So I'm going to quickly introduce the panel. First, we have forward for the Boston Bruins in the NHL, Ryan Spooner is with us. Ryan, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you.
No problem. And he's going to be upset that I call him this, but we have a post-hardcore legend with us this evening.
Wow. I don't know about that. But.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. But we have vocalist for Silverstein, Shane Told. Shane, welcome to Popternative.
Saw, dude.
Saw, dude. So really quickly, we've been wanting to have you on for a while, Shane. But you're a busy guy. What's the band been up to lately?
We've had some time off, actually. We've had the last, 2.5 months off, which is a very long time for us, and just been chilling kind of at home, writing a little bit, and getting ready to gear up for another tour. We're going to Europe next week, and then we're going to Australia, and then we have 2 more tours booked for the rest of the year. So very busy, and we're also going to be recording some new stuff soon too. So very busy.
A lot of stuff. Yeah, that's really good. And Ryan Spooner from the Boston Bruins just finished his first full season in the National Hockey League with a 49-point campaign. Ryan, how did you think this season was for you specifically in terms of your development as a hockey player?
It was a bit of a change for me, just like the 2 previous years I was up and down a lot, so it was a bit of a different experience for me. But the first full season, I thought it went okay. I mean, the start was a little bit slow for me, but I picked up my game between like October and February, and I was a little bit disappointed with I guess the ending to my season. Didn't really play how I guess that I wanted to, but I think as a whole, I thought that it went okay, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's next year, right?
Exactly.
Gotta go with it. But yeah, so really happy to have both of you on the show. I wanted to talk about a few things. Obviously music, because Silverstein is a band that Ryan and I have listened to a long time ago to high school, right? Ryan, you could say that Silverstein, the first 2 records.
Yes, the first one is When Broken and Easily Fixed, and then Discovering the Waterfront.
Yeah, nice. You guys went to high school together?
Exactly.
No, we didn't, but
no.
We were talking about how we both listen to that same music,
Yeah.
growing up.
Well, me and Ryan are Twitter buddies a little bit. So, because you got the verified Twitter thing now, so I can look at all the famous people following me. And I saw Spooner on there, and we exchanged some messages. So that's cool. We always wonder, we're in a city and we want to go to a hockey game on tour. It was there's got to be some players that listen to our band, It's something we always wonder. So I know at least there's at least one. It's too bad.
Boston, just let me know. You can come do a game.
Okay, well, yeah. So I was gonna say it's too bad you play for the Bruins, but
yeah, it's all right.
That being said, I have a lot of respect for the Bruins organization, of course, original 6 team. But as a Leafs fan, I have to give you a little shit,
Exactly.
Yeah, another thing too, Spooner, you played for the Frontenacs too. I just want to quickly mention it, right? That's where you played in the OHL. You played for Kingston, right?
I started off with the Petes, and then I got traded to Kingston. I was in Kingston for a year and a half. It was actually probably my favorite spot to play. It was an hour and a half from my hometown, so it was a fun spot to play.
Isn't it kind of weird that the Frontenacs and the Bruins kind of have the same colors? You ever thought of that? That's kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah, and I played for the Sting too, and they white, black, and yellow also. So 3 of the 4 teams I played for have been the exact same colors, which is weird.
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird. So yeah, Shane, you have to refer to it a little bit already, talking to, Ryan on Twitter. But what do you think about this whole landscape nowadays where, you have like the musicians and, the celebrities that you mentioned and the athletes? It's a new landscape. It's a new way to interact with people and, hook up at specific shows or hook up at games. It's a whole different synergistic atmosphere. What do you think about that?
I think it isn't as prevalent as you might think. Like I look at my verified Twitter status and I see the people following me, and sometimes I'm like interested, or occasionally like I think it was some CNN anchor was like following me, and I was like, oh, that's like interesting. Maybe I'll send her a message or something, like, maybe she's cool. And then it's funny because then I look at how many people she's following. It's like 12,000. I'm like, oh, she just like, I was another verified guy, so I'm nothing special, So you never really know like who's actually following you because they respect you or if they're just trying to get more followers or something. I don't know. There's the whole Twitter game. So it's not as much a thing, I don't think, like with celebrities trying to hang out with each other or, celebrities like, but it's interesting now that it's like a kind of like a click away on your phone you can get in touch with somebody, that you respect or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the blue check mark and Ryan, you have that blue check mark, but there's a lot of players, that play a couple games in the NHL still don't have that blue check mark. Do you think that that's a thing that these players like all the players like want to get verified, or is that in their mind one day that you've made it, we have the blue check mark? I'm just curious from your perspective.
I think it's more so for I know that the guy that runs all the PR on our team, he makes us get I guess it's called verified, in case someone sends out a tweet with a fake account, so we don't get in trouble. So if someone says something that offends someone and it's not actually us, I think that's why a lot of the players on my team have it, just in case there's a fake account, they say something, then we don't really get in, I guess, some trouble and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how I got verified. Just one day I had a check mark. I don't think they ever actually looked into it, made sure I was who I was. They just assumed something and there it was. So I don't really know how the verified thing works. But
do you ever hop on the Silverstein social media channels from time to time, or is that like,
yeah, that's actually how I first talked to Ryan, was through the Silverstein like band account. Yeah.
I once had a conversation, like I knew you at the time, and I once had like a conversation with someone on like the Silverstein Twitter message, but I'm not sure if it was you. So maybe you were kind of like pulling a prank on me, trying to make it seem like it was someone else in the band.
I don't remember that. Yeah, our drummer Paul is kind of the guy. He kind of like manages the band, I guess you could say. So he's always the one running. The Twitter usually, and I go on there from time to time, but yeah.
Because a couple of years ago, you guys put out a record called "This Is How the Riff Shifts," and that. I said it, Shane. This is how the riff shifts, because that record is. I was expecting you to laugh or something. That was so awkward.
Oh no! No, because we did Paul Mark did a video, I think, called "This Is How the Wind Riffs." Okay. And it was like him. It was like an guitar instructional video where he like taught the people how to play the So that's So I thought maybe you just got the title wrong for a second, to be honest.
Yeah, but, no. I did on purpose. Because when I came to the Ottawa show, we were like joking around about it, how it's so riffy. And it's a great.
Yeah, man. Since Paul Mark, the guitar player. Our new guitar player joined the band. It's like he's brought a really cool element of that to the band, and it's been really good.
Yeah, and I have other questions about that too. But very quickly, Ryan, I just wanted to ask you as well. You must like the social media, the aspect of social media where you're a hockey player, you're traveling all the time, busy. You know what I mean? And you have this phone, and you have these apps that you're able to, really quickly just find out what's going on. Have the news at your fingertips. Do you do you like this idea that, you're a really, really busy guy, that you could, you have this avenue where you can kind of keep track of everything nowadays, whereas, like you're 5-10 years ago, you didn't really have that, right? And you'd be on the road all the time, and maybe you'd try to get a newspaper when you were playing in Toronto or something. But now it's all on your phone, right?
Yeah, I think it has its pros and its cons. Like some bad stuff can come with it too. Like sometimes I get tagged in some tweets, and some people are not saying some kind things about me and all that kind of stuff. So that can get kind of annoying. But in terms of just kind of just knowing like what's out there and just to go on there, and when you're on the road, when you're bored and all that kind of stuff, I can jump on like Instagram or on Twitter and all that kind of stuff and just see kind of like what all my friends are up to. And that's always nice for sure.
Shane, do you like the avenue of also keeping in touch with the fans as well and monitoring what they post?
I do like it because personally I've always tried to be close to my fans. I've always tried to be accessible. Even before there was social media, I made a point to, after the set, go out and shake hands, go to the merch table and meet people. That was always important to me. It's something I still do to this day. But yeah, like what Ryan said, and that's interesting. I think Ryan and I have we kind of are on the same level there, where like it's the same thing. Like there'll be people saying, horrible things about me too, on the internet, like about, oh, this band sucks, this record sucks, or, or he had a terrible show, and it's something that I guess I learned early on in my career that I had to shut out, I had to shut that out, and I had to, kind of overcome that or ignore it. And I guess for you, Ryan, you must have learned that even as a player, like playing junior, you must have like, even back then had some of that, but I guess now it's like, it's just coming right at you. It's harder to ignore, but that must be something you've dealt with for a long time.
Not so much in the American League. It's pretty much only been when I get called up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just the exposure, right? Like all the games are on NBC and all that kind of stuff. So if I play a game and I'm like -2 or something like that, I have people that will tag me and be like, oh, he shouldn't be playing there. He can't play defense, this and that. And yeah, I mean, the sport that I'm in, I guess it's part of it. So something that I've learned that you're going to have to put in one ear and out, I guess, the other ear. So it's part of it, and you just got to deal with it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, playing in Boston's no picnic, man. Like, I mean, Boston sports fans are like as crazy as they come, Yeah,
they're very passionate, and I think that's also a great thing too. I think they expect a lot out of their teams, and I think that's a good thing. But definitely, when we don't play how we should be, we definitely hear about it for sure.
Oh man, it's crazy. And Ryan, of course, wasn't on the Bruins when the Bruins came back and beat your Leafs, Shane.
Closing the computer.
But it's wicked too. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say, Ryan?
I was actually at that, and it's funny that you say that because was the score 4-1 in the third period? I believe it was, right?
It was 4-1.
It was 4-1.
Yeah.
So when the Leafs made it 4-1, half the rink actually got up and left and was booing and all that kind of stuff. And then I was just sitting there, and it was just like a goal after a goal after a goal, and I was just in awe. I just couldn't believe that it happened. It was probably one of the best games I've seen. I mean, probably not for you, but for me, it was definitely exciting.
Well, what's funny is I was actually in Japan at the time of the game, and I was it was very, very early in the morning. Like I think it would have been like 7 in the morning. We woke up to watch the game, and I remember like getting up and still in my like pajamas, getting it on my computer, streaming it, and then that happened, and just like it's like I don't know what time, like 8:30 in the morning, and I'm just like fuck my life, like this just I just like went back to bed like all dejected because that was a collapse like I mean I've never seen before in my whole life, and yeah, man, but hey, I mean the Bruins are super crazy, like they're a crazy talented team. They were much more talented than the Leafs. Like the only reason I think the Leafs were even there was just because it happened to be that shortened season, right? So
yeah.
So I think that's the only reason they even made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. It's all good.
Could be, yeah.
You have your Blue Jays, Shane. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the guys still on your team still talk about that game sometimes.
Not so much now. I remember would have been 2 years ago when I got called up. Dave would mention it, I guess, from time to time.
Yeah.
Just like if we were down by 3 goals or something like that
Right.
in a big game, they would kind of bring it up. But
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, absolutely.
yeah,
But Shane,
it was.
15 years. Like last year, you celebrate 15 years of Silverstein, correct?
That's right.
And this is something we've talked about before, but 15 years as a band, and only one member change over those 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to mean something, count for something. There's got to be some kind of there's got to be something really good about that, connection you guys have as a band, and it's got to be working, right? Well-oiled machine, that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's hard to know because I haven't really been in any other bands to know like how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like we get along really well. We respect each other both as musicians and as people. And I actually talked about this on my podcast last week. It's like you almost have to be a little bit sketchy, a little bit unprofessional to be professional. Because the bands that are super professional and on top of things, and like if you take things too seriously, I think then people just get, I don't know, people just aren't as happy, So if you let your guard down a little bit and you have more fun with things, I think overall like people enjoy being there more. If you're the kind of band that's like someone makes a mistake on stage, like a tiny mistake that nobody notices, really. And then you're backstage like blowing up, like getting in people's faces or saying like you got to play better, like that kind of thing. It's not good, and you need to have a little bit of looseness, I think, because everyone's going to make mistakes. And if you it's different from a team, like a hockey team, because players on a hockey team they have a contract and they're going to be there till the end of the year at least. You know what I mean? Or they could get traded at any time. With a band, like we have a relationship that spans like the entire career the hockey player would have. So it's important for us, to have, more of a big picture of our band and our career than just like trying to have, win the game or have the best, performance that night. There's obviously more to it. It's more of the long game. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of differences between, what you do, Shane, and Ryan, what you do on the ice, but there's a lot of similarities as well, right? And one thing, too, is the, interaction engagement with fans. And I've always wanted to ask, like a hockey player this, Ryan, because you see it a lot, right? And, Shane, you get it a lot, but you mentioned you're like an advocate for it because you're at the merch table after every show.
Yeah.
Fans. But, like, I'm sure there's situations where it's kind of like a lot of people will say, fan after fan, and they just want to go back to their hotel room or sleep or something. But Ryan and Shane, it's kind of what you guys signed up for in a sense too, right? Like it's what to expect, right, Ryan?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can ask all the fans there. More times than not, I'm always the guy that goes out and I sign stuff. And after games and stuff like that, when I walk back to the apartment, I always stop, and if they want to take a picture with me, it's fine. I always try to make the time, and at the end of the day, I guess without the fans and all that kind of stuff, it just wouldn't be the sport that it is. So we definitely have to, I guess, give back, and I always am available to make the time and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy it.
Are you encouraged by the organization, like the president of the team or whoever, or you said your PR person? Are you encouraged to talk to fans? Do they give you like guidance on how to interact with fans, or is that not really something they talk about? Like when you get, when you're on the team or whatever, get called up, whatever.
Yeah. In terms of like the media training, I wouldn't say there's a whole lot. I think it's just common sense on like what to say and what not to say. In terms of stuff in the community, I think it's something along the lines of each player has to do 5 appearances during the year. So like we'll go to the hospital, we'll go to schools. I'm trying to think of something I did the past year. I actually went with the Bauer guys to skate with a youth team and took some pictures and just talked to them. And then I went to the hospital. I got dressed up as a giraffe actually, and I went through with all the kids and just stuff like that, and it makes me feel good about myself and enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that it isn't for them, but I actually thoroughly enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And again, like I said, without the fans and all that kind of stuff, I just don't think that it would be the same. So it makes the sport exactly what it is. So
yeah. No, for sure. And Shane, and I mentioned it, and I'm, you can disagree, but like you are, if the first ever screamo, like, or whatever you want to call the genre, screamo, post-hardcore. When I was in high school, and I discovered this new type of music. First 3 bands, Shane, that I've like listened to of that genre was Under Oath, Hawthorne Heights, and Silverstein.
Sure.
So, and if that's not pioneer post-hardcore, I don't know what is, because I didn't know what post-hardcore was before I listened to those 3 bands.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing, like, with music. Like, I don't think of my band or Hawthorne Heights really as, like, cutting edge, really. Like, I think you can always look to the generation before. Like, for us, like, there was a band from Burlington, Ontario called Grade. And, I mean, they pretty much did what we did, and, and they did it. They probably formed 6 or 7 years before we did. And then I'm sure there was someone before them that, kind of pioneered the sound. And, people always try to trace back the roots on emo or screamo or metal or punk rock or hardcore or whatever. Like, and you can do that. And obviously there's some bands along the way that, sort of become more influential to the generations after. And, you talk about like Under Oath, like that's such an influential band, and for Silverstein to be named in the same sentences as them is cool. And I think I do hear from other bands and younger bands like, hey, like, we wouldn't be a band if it wasn't for you guys. And when you hear that stuff, it's really special, and it's cool. But at the time we did it, we had our influences too, and we tried to do something different, but we didn't think of ourselves as really pioneers at all,
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
The singing, screaming thing I did was like, there wasn't that many bands doing that really. Usually it was like one guy would sing and one guy would scream. So me doing both was sort of different, but at the same time, it wasn't unheard of. And even today, like, there's a lot of bands that do that. So
yeah, and I don't want to sound like cheesy or not, but it's the truth. And I've mentioned it to a lot of bands, but it's like, in high school, I had some difficult times. Like, there were some difficult times. There was some bullying going on, and I had, that escape with those bands like Silverstein, Sum 41, Thrice, that really helped me through those tough times. If I was feeling like bummed out or, blue, I would just put my Walkman on and boom, I have that music to help. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat as me. So first off, I'd like to say thank you.
Well, you're very welcome.
And my second question is, how does that make you feel? Like, and I've seen you go on like Brian Stars and talk about more in depth and more serious, about like suicide prevention and everything. But like, you are one of those bands that are part of a generation, right? That kind of, paved the way for a lot of the stuff that, we listen to right now. And you said it yourself, metalcore, punk, it's all different. But what do you think about that? Like, from your perspective of it?
I mean, every time, somebody comes up and says to me, like you said, like I had a hard time, and your music helped me through a hard time, whether it's like bullying, whether it's like something really like serious, like, someone in like being abused, like sexually abused, or, like something really heavy, whatever it is, like it makes me feel like what I do is important, and it helps me keep going. And, like your question before about 15 years of doing this, like, it's those types of interactions that I have with people, knowing what I do actually makes a difference, that keeps me going, and keeps me going on tour and going away and leaving my family and leaving my friends. So that stuff is really important to me. And as a music fan myself, I remember being, an awkward kid too, an awkward teenager in high school, and not really knowing where to fit in and stuff, and having music, help me out. So for it to kind of come full circle, and now for me to be in that position is, it's a really special thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Absolutely. And Ryan, how does music or those bands, or I know we've had a conversation about it. How has music played a role in your life in general, or on and off the ice as a hockey player? When you're at the gym, how has music been part of the Ryan Spooner journey so far?
Yeah, that's a good question for sure. I mean, definitely like going all the way back to high school. I remember listening to Silverstein, Funeral for a
Yeah.
Friend, Hawthorne Heights, and all those bands. And um, probably back then, that is mostly what I would listen to. And again, if I was having like a hard time, I would listen to that kind of stuff, and it would kind of cheer me up. And now I'm 24 now. I listen to all different kinds of stuff. I listen to punk music. I listen to house music. I listen to the tropical house music. And it kind of depends what I'm doing. But in terms of like me, like I'm always on my laptop. I'm looking up like just a bunch of new stuff. If I'm at the gym, I need to have on like the tunes that I like because it just gives me like an extra boost. And I guess in the car and all that kind of stuff. I'm always blaring the music and stuff. So I'd say it's a huge part of my life. Definitely makes me a happier person. And I think in terms of when you talk about music, I think a lot of people will say it just kind of brings some extra joy to your life. And that's kind of how I feel about it for sure.
No, absolutely. I just want to give a shout out to Pure Noise Records, who are actually watching the show right now, which I think is pretty cool. And
Is it
they,
Jake? Hey, Jake.
they have some really cool bands coming up.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Great and Ryan. Ryan and I are big fans of. Andrew's a friend of mine. He's been on the show, but Seaway is a band.
Yeah.
From Oakville. That's from your town, right?
That's my hometown. Yeah.
So you guys play a lot of shows together, don't you?
Yeah, we've played quite a few. I sang on a song. I did guest vocals on their first record, and yeah, they're like my mom goes to like the gym with one of the guys in the band's mom. So yeah, we're like really literally from the same cross streets in Oakville. So yeah, know those guys super well. Yeah, they're a pure noise band.
Yeah, and another Pure Noise band, State Champs. They're a band that it's funny because you listen to a band before they were signed and they're playing small shows, and some of these bands. I'm sure Shane, because you had a record label with Verona Records. You guys had counterparts on there, and there's got to be, and Ryan, you can you could speak to this as well. There's got to be some bands that you just listen to for the first time, and you're just like, man, like. This is it. Like they have it. Like this band's gonna be big. Do you ever have those like trigger moments, Shane, where you're listening to a band or you're like, oh, there's a specific part of this band that, has.
Oh yeah. I say like I always like joke that I wish you could buy like stock in bands. You know what I mean? Like I would have bought stock in like All Time Low, and I would have bought stock in Neck Deep, like there are these bands that come out, and State Champs is actually an interesting case because I think it was 2012 we did we had this record called Short Songs, and we did a very aptly titled tour called Short Tour, and we played in Massachusetts and Boston, and State Champs were like the opening local band, and I remember they gave me a shirt, which I still have. I was actually wearing it 2 days ago. And right away, like I saw them and I knew they just were going to be something special. And I like people ask me, what it is about it that you hear a band and I don't think it's any one specific thing. It's just certain bands they just have it, and yeah, like All Time Low was one. Like when I first saw them play, I knew right away.
Mm-hmm. No, Ryan, you're a big fan of the new wave of pop punk. You're a big fan of Knuckle Puck. You're a big fan of State Champs, Seaway. What is it about those type of bands that you like specifically?
Honestly, don't really know. I'm a big fan of the acoustic stuff that they actually play. I have a whole playlist on my phone with probably like 40 songs. I got, I'm trying to look at it right now. I got State Champs. I got Brigades. I got just bands like that. If I go to the punk stuff here, actually Boston Manor, which is a band from Europe. I got a song from them. I got The Wonder Years, Newfound Glory, From First to Last, Rise Against, Silverstein, Death Cab, all that kind of stuff on here. So, but that's all the acoustic stuff actually. And Shane, my favorite acoustic song from you guys would be probably Giving Up. I don't know if...
Really? There's an acoustic version of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, there is actually.
Is it live or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it. I have the acoustic version of it. Maybe
Crazy.
you don't remember playing it, but
You stumped
No, I
Shane.
don't. No, Stump the Chump. Yeah, no, we did a Red Light Pledge from that album, but I don't remember Giving Up.
You know, it's pretty sweet.
no, actually, you're right. It's not the acoustic, but it's...
Yeah, chalk one up for old Shano. There you go.
Sorry, yeah, no, it's my bad. You guys do an acoustic version of, is it Replace You and then
Yeah.
Call It Karma? I
Yeah,
believe.
those definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have those on here too.
Yeah, you got to check out Ryan. You got to check out my solo project. It's called River Oaks.
River Oaks.
River Oaks. Yeah, it's actually, you were talking about Seaway earlier. That's like the area of Oakville where we all grew up, called River Oaks, and
okay.
That's my soul stuff. And you probably like it because it's more soft, more acoustic-y. So
okay,
check it out. And
Shane,
anyone watching this
sure,
too, they can check it out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane,
RiverOaksMusic.com. There you go.
Shane, remember Acoustifest?
I do remember Acoustifest. Yeah, Peter booked my first ever solo acoustic show ever. So, yeah, that was actually like before I'd done this. So, you know, Peter, that show kind of inspired me to do that stuff. Like, kind of showed me that I could do it. So, thanks for having me that day.
No problem.
What was that, 2012?
Yeah.
It's a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years since I've booked shows, but no,
Yeah.
it was there's a lot of good bands coming from it. Like State Champs I booked, Set It Off too is another band too. I had these bands before they kind of made it like really big, you know, so it's really cool to see them like start out and you know, because I booked, you know, State Champs at Club Saw in Ottawa where Seaway is playing.
Right. Yeah.
And then I just saw them sell out Opera House in Toronto with Neck Deep and Knuckle Puck. And I just think it's really cool to see. And I know, Ryan, did you see one, was it Knuckle Puck or Seaway? You went to one of their shows in Boston, right?
Yeah, I did. They were playing at what usually is a nightclub. I can't remember the name right now, but I went with three of my best friends actually, and they aren't really into punk music at all, and they honestly didn't really want to go. And then they went to the concert and they had a great time, and they actually loved it. They said like they enjoyed it and that kind of stuff. They were in the mosh pits and all that kind of stuff. They were having a great time. So yeah, it was definitely fun. That was my first punk concert, I guess you could say. I haven't really seen any of the other ones. I'm planning on trying to see a bunch more, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Well, anytime we're in Boston or Worcester or even if you're on the road, let me know, man, if we're in town. I know you're busy playing hockey all the time, but let me know, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I can always find the time.
and I find too that now that like I see like Pure Noise on here, but a band too, like Seaway's playing July 2nd in Ottawa with a really good band from Ottawa, actually, a pop punk band called Bearings. They're younger kids. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Bearings?
Bearings, yeah.
Like a bearing you put in a skateboard?
I believe so. Bearings, like bear.
No, I haven't heard of them.
They're really good.
Cool.
It's pop punk, you know. A little bit more.
No, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what pop punk means anymore. Like for example, somebody was telling me, I don't know. Somebody's telling me there's this new pop punk band called like Real Friends that I have to check out. So I'm like, okay, I'll check them out. And like, I don't know. I guess they're pop punk, but they're like punk rock. Like, and then I'll hear another pop punk band. I won't name names, but like sometimes it's just like not even punk. It's like super pop. You know, I don't understand anymore. Like when people are like, oh, it's pop punk. Like I don't really know what that means. You know, because I guess you could say the same about any genre really, but I feel like right now with pop punk, it's like there's so much variation between how much punk and how much pop there is, in the genre. So someone's like, oh, it's like typical, pop punk. I'm like, I don't really know what that means. Does that mean they're going to be like yelling and aggressive and fast, or does that mean they're going to sound like Boys to Men? That's the thing I don't know anymore. And
you look at post-hardcore too, and I remember this band La Dispute,
which is French for the dispute.
Yes, thank you for the lesson. But oh man, but they were considered like post-hardcore. Like if you go look at like a La Dispute record, it says like post-hardcore,
Right.
And even sometimes like Defeater kind of had the post-hardcore label at times, and I'm not even sure if you're right. I'm not sure what these bands are, what the genres are, and that's what I think it is.
They have a thing too, like I know Defeater and La Dispute and stuff, and I think Touche Amore. They have like this. I forget that they call themselves like this, kind of like a club they have.
It's spoken word, isn't it? Too like
no. I just mean they have like their own sort of like genre that there's a name for it, or it's like a name because they're all friends or something.
Okay.
And those bands all kind of fit into a similar sound, and I think it's accurate to call them post-hardcore. People call our band post-hardcore. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't really know, but you make a good point to where you can have, we could be called Screamo. And then there's a band like Page 99, which I don't know if you've ever heard of. They're called Screamo, or Orchid is called Screamo, and those bands don't really sound anything like us.
Yeah.
They don't have like the same poppiness or singing or pop structure that we have. So you're right in that. But yeah, I don't know. Like I mean, there's great I really like that band, the Somerset. They're very pop, for a pop punk band, and then for them, and then somebody like, for lack of a better example, like Real Friends is like way more aggressive. So, or 4 Year Strong is like way more aggressive, and say that they're a pop punk band. So, I don't really know, and that's the problem with labels, and it's not a new problem,
Oh, 4 Year Strong, that's a good one.
Oh, they're a great band.
That's a good one, and they had one record where they completely like changed their style a little bit, and I loved it. Where it was like more of like a rock Foo Fighters type sound. And it was, I remember that they got a lot of flack because it was a lot different than what they usually put out. And that's actually a question I had for you, Shane. Silverstein, some of the records have been a bit heavier at times, but you've never lost your roots, a lot of fans might argue, right? Like every Silverstein album kind of sounds similar, and you've kind of stayed in that lane. I think other bands like August Burns Red, A Day to Remember, are really, doing that. Kind of, they have this lane where they'll experiment from time to time, and August Burns might not be the best example because their new record was a little bit more different. But that is something too, right? That, 15 years of a band, that you've kind of created these products, these records over time.
Yeah.
It hasn't really changed that much, right?
It's the thing is like we've always been mindful to make it just a natural progression between records. And I think like what happens, which is kind of interesting, is like, from record number 3 to record number 4, or record number 6 to record number 7, there's not as much difference. But when you start tracing it back, when you compare record number 1 with record number 7, if we'd put out the 7th record second, people would have been like, what the hell happened? Whereas at the same time, we get the criticism that we don't evolve enough, that we don't change enough, that we don't take as many chances. And I think it's just important for us to just evolve naturally, and we have, to where the songs we're writing now, they're much different from our first record, But, at the same time, like when I'm singing something, it's going to sound like Silverstein. It's just, the same way that my solo stuff, people said it sounds too much like Silverstein. I'm like, it doesn't at all sound like Silverstein. But when you hear me singing, it is what it is. So, I mean, the thing is I think like if bands try to evolve too much, or try like they end up forcing it, and then they try to force some sound that's not natural, and then I think that they almost always, like 99% of the time, miss the mark. and end up like not only alienating their fan base, but actually making a bad record, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for us. Like we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the music or what we're trying to do. We just do it. And then that ends up being the most like honest, I think the most honest way we can approach, you know, our music.
And Ryan, you know, when you're listening to bands like Seaway and State Champs, even when they put out acoustic stuff too, there is this consistency of their sound that makes you want to continue listening, right?
Yeah, I think for me, I'd say probably the vocals is something that I like. You know, it's the first thing that I pick up on, and if I like their voice, and I'll keep on listening to them, and then if not, then I guess I don't. So that's the first thing that I kind of look for. And in terms of like this, the screamo and stuff like that, I'm not really into like if the entire song is all screamo. I kind of like when they're singing and screaming too. Like I'm kind of more into that kind of stuff too. So.
Absolutely. And I remember, Shane, you guys toured with A Day to Remember a few times actually. And they actually opened up for you guys on one Canadian tour, I believe, when it was 10-Second Epic, A Day to Remember, and I believe I Am Committing a Sin was on a few of those dates as well.
Could be right, yeah.
Yeah. Right. But they're a band too that and like Pierce the Veil could be put in that category, Sleeping with Sirens. There is a heavy component to all of these bands, but they've kind of maintained this pop element to it that has made them, you know, like fans, like have made them fans of all types of, you know, genres of music as well, because, you know, it's kind of what Ryan said. If you have kind of a balance of the screamo and the singing, like Silverstein, then you're going to have both. You're going to have people that like the pop punk, the rock stuff, but that also like the heavy stuff as well.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, again, like I think popular bands and bands that stand the test of time, they write great songs. That's the answer. And if you can strip down a song to chords and melody and great lyrics, those three combination of things, it doesn't matter whether it's, again, we talk about these genres, whether it's post-hardcore or pop punk or metalcore or whatever, like whatever happens, if you have those elements, the genre will matter a lot less. And it's really just about writing great songs. And, you know, you mentioned Day to Remember, they're a band that writes great songs. And that's why they're still here, and they continually write great songs, and also they put on an amazing show live too. So they, you know, they just have it. They're good guys. They're fucking hilarious, and you know, they're people I'm really glad to call my friends. So you know, that's a band that it's cool. Like, you know, we took them on one of their first, you know, ever like real tours, and now, you know, they've repaid the favor to us multiple times, and it's great to see them still do so well.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna wrap up soon, but very quickly before closing remarks, Ryan, the NHL entry draft, 2016 draft, is next week, and there was a time where, you know, it was your draft year, and you were waiting to see to get drafted. And that was a year where, you know, social media wasn't as prevalent as it was nowadays. Do you have any advice for, you know, players, you know, when you hear their name being called, or, you know, how to, you know, manage all the social media pandemonium or the big, you know, follower increase that's to come? Do you have any on top of your head, some things you want to say about that?
Just enjoy it. I mean, I remember that would have been 6 years ago. Mine was in Los Angeles, I believe, and yeah, it was a great time. I was there with my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, and all that kind of stuff, and it was a fun time, and you know, it was just nice to see that all the hard work that I put in, it kind of paid off. And I'd say for all the guys that are young, you know, there's some guys that might not get picked up, but I've played with tons of guys that didn't get drafted, and now they're 50-point guys, 60-point guys, and they're great players. And, you know, I always get sad when I hear about guys that are supposed to get drafted and they don't. They get kind of down on themselves and all that kind of stuff. I'd say use it as some, I guess, motivation, and it's not, I guess, the end of the world, you know. just work hard, and as long as you do that, that's all I guess that you can, just do. So yeah.
And you were drafted 5th overall, right?
I was drafted 5th to the OHL. I was drafted 45th to the NHL. I was drafted in the second round.
Okay, yeah. I just Googled it quickly. I won't lie. I didn't know that.
It's
45th overall. Okay, cool. Yeah. Did you have, like, when you were going through that as a player, like, what was, like, as high as you thought you'd get drafted potentially, and what was, like, as low as you got drafted? Like, were you kind of about where you expected? Or because like as a player, that must be, like, the craziest feeling to be sitting there. Like, I can't even imagine that feeling being like, do they like me or not? Like, you know, that must have been so insane. Was it about what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty, I don't want to say nervous, maybe more a little bit excited. I heard that I might get picked in the first round, but I wasn't really, like, expecting it. I heard that the Sens were trying to maybe, I think they were picking 17th, and then they ended up trading for a defenseman or something like that. So I just sat there, and it gets kind of, I guess, stressful, you can say, when you hear, like, the 30th pick, 31, 32, and all these players keep on going up, and guys that you played against. And at the end of the day, though, it doesn't really matter if you get picked first or you get picked last. You still got picked. You still get the chance. And even if you don't get really picked at all, you're still probably going to get a chance too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Popternative. Ryan, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Anything specifically you want to say? Closing remarks? Anything?
Just thanks a lot. I had fun, and it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Short and sweet. Well, yeah, no, for sure. It's really cool to have, you know, the musician and the athlete on. And Shane, musician, thanks a lot for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to have me, who's a musician that's a huge sports fan, and an athlete who's a big music fan. So thanks for having us, Peter, and appreciate it. Sorry it took me so long to get my schedule together to do this, but if you want to have me back, let me know. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, and very quickly, can you talk about your like a quick 1 minute plug of your podcast?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. I'll definitely plug my podcast. Yeah, it's called Lead Singer Syndrome. I interview other lead singers from all different genres, and you can find out more information at leadsingersyndrome.com. And also, it's like on iTunes. Just people don't know, but if you have an iPhone, you actually already have the podcast app. So just find it. It's probably buried deep in your phone somewhere. Boom. And you can subscribe to my podcast, and it's free. So.
I gotta get Popternative on
dude.
iTunes soon.
You don't have to be special.
But yeah, Lead Singer Syndrome is really, really cool. You had some of the Under Oath guys. You had Adam from Take It Back Sunday. There's some really good episodes there. It gets intense sometimes too. I wouldn't say like intense, but you guys get deep. Like with Will.
Man. The whole thing is like I'm not gonna my peers know. Because I'm a singer, they're a singer. They know they can't bullshit me, right? So that in a big way, like I think they know I'm not going to accept the generic interview answer. And also, when you have a long format like a podcast, you're just able to go so much more in depth to the little details. Which, you know, if you're a real fan of the band, checking it out, you're going to always hear something you haven't heard before. So that's why I'm a big fan of podcasts in general. I try to really dig in and really get to the core of some good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, that is Lead Singer Syndrome. So thanks everyone for tuning in for Popternative. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Shane. You can catch this replay, in a few days, hopefully, on our YouTube page and other past episodes. And you could like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Popternative. Before we go, I just want to wish a quick happy birthday to my mom. Mom, I love you very much. Happy birthday, Mom. And we'll be back next week. Thank you all, and have a great night.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.